This beat is crazy fire.
Today I'm going to be delivering a hopefully a very exciting and informational presentation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And pardon me, guys, I'm not the most tech savvy, so this should be interesting. Can everyone see my screen? Just give me a thumbs up. Yes, okay, awesome. So in honor of, this might be one of my favorite months of the year, aside from September, which is my birthday month. So, that's my absolute favorite. But aside from September, March is a very important and special month to me, and I know to a lot of women around the world because it is Women's History Month. Friday is actually International Women's Day, and that is celebrated worldwide. And it's one day that we can all come together, talk about the things that we as women experience, talk about how to progress and how to ultimately support each other in this thing called life, right? So today my focus is going to be on girls with goals, how to empower our young women to reach their goals. We are a little bit older, but it's kind of like a circle, what I like to think. I always like to think of myself as, the little girl that needed something, or maybe was intended to, or maybe had a dream that I wasn't able to fully, reach, or, to fulfill at its full potential. And with that being said, how do I help other girls and other young women get to their goals and their dreams? And we all have a hand in it. So without further ado, I will start. Now, in honor of Women's Month, like I said before, this presentation is dedicated to everyone who identifies as a woman, everyone who sees themselves in the mirror and realizes, the beauty, the struggle, the anxiety, the hurdles, the shining moments, right? The ups and the downs of what it is to carry that title. And it's an honorable title, right? And mostly whoever recognizes the importance of fostering equity in our young women to grow and to blossom and reach their goals, whatever goals she sets for herself. Because not only are her goals valuable to her, but her vision impacts others, and our girls are empowered through us, right? So we set that tone. We set the precedents for them to follow. And, even if you're a father, or if you're not yet to be a father, you're just, maybe you're a mother who doesn't have any daughters, maybe you have sons or no children at all, or, whatever phase you are in life, whoever you are in life, right? I do believe that we all have a hand in the empowerment of a young woman, whoever that young woman may be. And sometimes you have a role that you may not even realize you have, right? So I like to start the presentation with this quote, and it goes, "If a girl attains knowledge, skills, and the ability to change her reality and use these tools to grow by making her own choices, then that girl is empowered." So once upon a time, I'm going to play this really brief video, and I'd like to, give you guys a chance to kind of interpret it. It's a pretty basic video. It's very short, but how do you see this story? I'm going to go ahead and play it. I hope everyone can see it well.
A wonderful mother, a loving daughter, a great sister, a perfect partner, and a caring grandma. Every moment in life is incomplete without you. We thank you for being women.
So I'd like to give you guys the opportunity to maybe take yourselves off of mute and, give your ideas of what this video is. Or what does it represent, rather? You can also utilize the chat feature if you'd rather do that. I see something in the chat. It shows women in different phases of life. Yes, absolutely.
Peace off, Ben here.
Hi, Ben.
Something that kind of stuck out to me, I guess, in like how you frame it with being Women's History Month, kind of the beauty of the connections that women can make along their generational lines. You know, it's a very like simple video, but if you like read between the lines, you can see like how women can garner strength and opportunity within their own family lineages. So I think it was simple but impactful.
Yes, and that's exactly kind of like the line of thought that I was thinking. It starts, with when she's very young, and then there are different phases that she goes through, and not everyone's story is the same, but whatever role you have as a woman is very it's very special to those around you, whether you're a little one or, you may be the little girl that, your parents or your mother or father were waiting for forever, right? And then here she is, and then, maybe you become the, the first something of your family, the first girl or, young woman in your family that maybe went to college, or maybe, got, her big break in something. So you're right. You're absolutely right, Ben. I see in the chat, it says it shows how different generations impact the next. Yep. And then it shows how we all need one another in every role of our life. Thank you so much. You guys are absolutely right. So, and excuse me because my computer is somewhat lagging this morning. So while there is a belief that young girls are cute and precious and delicate, I also see girls as being determined and have like a sense of strong will and pretty much, pretty powerful, to say the least. So, and I think of that because has anyone ever seen the power that a young girl has on her father, say, for example, or grandfather, right? So one of my family friends, he just like kind of crumbles once his 3-year-old daughter, like, daddy, let's do this or let's play. And he's just coming home from work and he's exhausted and he just wants to relax or he just wants to lay down. But like once she comes in, or once he comes in and she comes up to him, it's like he just becomes so soft and just so, compassionate for her. So, now he was tired, he didn't want to, do anything, and all of a sudden he's taking her out for ice cream, or all of a sudden he's on the floor and playing with her little toys, or entertaining her or tickling her or something. So, a girl has a lot of power that she doesn't realize that she have sometimes. So my point is that a young woman's potential is greater than what she may know, and it takes for us to harbor and strengthen her goals for them to come to life. And in doing that, I want to focus on 6 areas essential to empowering young women to reach their goals. It's important to strengthen her voice, nurturing her self-worth. By doing that, we teach boundary setting, and that helps to encourage critical thinking. I think it's also very important to expose her to female role models, and lastly, praise her efforts and not her performance. We're going to get a little bit into that as we continue the presentation. So since the beginning of, I guess, time, it sounds very cliche, but girls kind of have been told to, uphold a certain, I guess, persona, or a certain, certain set of mannerisms, right? So for example, you need to be a little bit more ladylike, or, you need to be a little bit more passive, stop being so aggressive, or, you need to know where you fit in. And these are kind of like the stereotypical set of, I guess, um, expectations that have been set on young women. But I really do feel like there's a beauty in sticking up for what you believe in and having a sense of advocacy for yourself. And I feel that girls should not be guilty for speaking their minds, even when we are maybe in a society that tells you otherwise. So, in learning to speak your mind, even for everyone, not just young women, but in learning to speak your mind, it opens up a door for so many different skills. Learning to be um, pretty much strong in your sense of self. It helps to open job opportunities. It can also help you make just general life choices for yourself and being firm in what you believe in. So it also indicates that you cannot be pushed around. It gives you a sense of autonomy and confidence, which helps in battling feelings of low self-esteem. And working towards advocating for yourself can make you feel proud and make you feel accomplished, right? So, in strengthening her voice, it's important to solicit her opinion and regularly ask her, say, hey, what do you think about this? Or how did you feel about that? Or did you like this, right? And this really does allow her to, establish her sense of opinion. And it really pushes her to try new things, and it establishes, a sense of bravery and instills in her agency that she has a say of what she likes, what she doesn't like, what she wants to, be a part of, or it helps her determine her inclination with agency, right? So to empower a girl to become a strong woman, you want her to feel like she has that voice. We want to raise our women to be confident in their opinions. She should know that her perspective matters, right? And her opinions are not going to be overshadowed ultimately. And we can do that by asking, her opinion and asking her to critically think. We're going to get into critically thinking in a few, but it's important to have, to give her that opportunity to develop those thoughts and opinions, right? With a little bit of guidance. Girls sometimes are given like subtle mixed messages where, you can't be too opinionated. You have to follow the lead of certain ideas, right? But I think it is important to have her state what she believes is, beneficial, or what she likes in the greater scheme of things, right? And not only that, but we want to make sure that she, has that sense of confidence in her in all aspects of her work. So nurturing self-worth is very, very critical, especially in a day and age where we are flooded and inundated with imagery from social media, or from like what I like to call it is fake ideals of beauty and success standards, right? So in a world where we're fully encompassed by the internet and, body shaming and things of that nature, maybe, you don't fit into certain box categories that are set by the media and our society. You want to make sure your young girl is apt to be confident. So even when she doesn't feel super confident, it's important to acknowledge her feelings. So if you hear her say something like, well, I don't feel good, I feel so ugly, I feel overweight, I feel, I feel like I'm not pretty enough, or I feel like I'm not smart enough, right? So instead of rushing to tell her like, no, you're amazing, you're so beautiful, you're great, you look wonderful, you want to try to validate her feelings. So, rather than her feeling that, maybe her emotions or her thoughts are brushed off, you can kind of work with her to feel that, okay, you're feeling like this. What makes you feel like that? Well, how can we try to change your thinking? How can we redirect your negative thoughts into more positive thoughts, right? And that way you help her realize, the beauty in certain things that maybe she isn't aware of. Girls go through so many changes, especially in their phases of, middle school and high school, where their peers are really what influence them the most out of everyone, right? And it can be kind of hard for them to determine, their sense of self and who they are in the midst of, that, that are those types of environments. So it's important for them to discover who they are and what influences them, and what are some things that they like and what's some things that they don't like, right? So not only that, it's important to have them know that not everyone is going to like you and accept you, but who am I? How do I love myself? In those ways, we can let her be herself, whoever herself may be. Just let her be her. Focus on her intellect. Let her know that she is beautiful, but beauty is skin deep, right? So, beautiful, that word beautiful can mean beauty, physical beauty, but there are so many other things that can be beautiful about her, right? So that helps her boost her self-esteem. And not only that, it teaches her agency, like we mentioned before, and independence. So, one thing that I do love is affirmations. I believe that people are motivated by different things, and many of us are motivated by affirmations. So if you take the time to practice maybe 10 minutes before bed, having an affirmations before bed, and ending the night on a positive note, that can be really helpful. And it's a small little gesture, but it's pretty impactful. Another very important thing that I find is very crucial is boundary setting. So too often girls take on a lot of burden, of other people's feelings. Sometimes in that phase that I mentioned before, that middle school and high school phase, where their friends, like I mentioned before, are very influential people to them. So at times they can take on those feelings and that burden of others, and maybe are unaware of how to set those boundaries where, I don't have to take on the struggles of other people in my life, right? So by helping I'm going to say your young girl. So throughout this presentation, think of someone who, it may be not necessarily your daughter, but think of a young woman in your life, right? So how do you help that young woman set healthy boundaries? You can do that by letting her know that she is the boss of her body, her in her mental capacity, in her physical capacity. She owns that capacity. She is the boss of her body, or especially emotionally, that's a component of your body. So let her know that she is in charge when it comes to anything when it has to do with her body, right? And help her avoid people-pleasing behavior. It can be a little bit difficult because sometimes, we need to teach negotiation, and we need to teach, how to be firm with things that you're okay with and not okay with. But definitely you have to have those discussions with her and let her know that there is an open, safe space with you to talk about those things. So those are, times where you can talk about respect. You can talk about consent. You can talk about how to set any type of boundary with those people who may make her uncomfortable. And in that encourages critical thinking. So I like to tell everyone, never underestimate the influence of media. Media is probably the biggest influence that is on our youth, and even on us. We probably don't even realize, but for everyone as a whole. So these messages really do impact her self-esteem, and reducing what your young woman, I'm going to say it again, not necessarily your daughter or anything close to you, maybe someone who's close to you but maybe not necessarily blood, but reducing what your young woman is exposed to can help. Since you can't completely avoid all of these messages, right, you can teach her early on to be a critical thinker and question things on TV. So, usually we see people in movies, and they're portraying women as the damsel in distress. She's waiting for someone to rescue her. She's waiting for her Prince Charming, or she needs someone to save her, right? Well, take the chance to show her, why do they have that girl in such distress? Why did they portray her as someone who is, just waiting for her Prince Charming? Have her critically think about these images. Why is this woman shown with a certain body type? Or why does this brand only cater to a certain image, right? Have her think about these things And that can help her, think in different avenues. You can also help her to ask these questions, right? And encourage these questions and be open to disagreement. The most important thing is to realize that, she's in a phase where she's trying to develop her thinking, her line of thinking, and her own, her kind of like, what I like to think about it is like her own identity. I don't really like to use that term, but her own identity, we'll say. So be open to disagreement and healthy discord. Like, we're not always going to agree on these things, but it helps her to create that voice, like we mentioned before, right? And nonetheless, ask her why. So, like we mentioned before, why is this like that? Why does this, appear to be like that? Right? I see the chat. Zoe says, let her know that her feelings are important and that she matters in her own, on her own. Yes, absolutely. Like, you are capable, you are worthy. And the last thing that I want to mention is real problem, pretend play. So what does this term mean? It means pose certain situations and scenarios with her. Help her navigate, what would you do in these situations, right? They can range from maybe very like low risk situations to high risk situations. And it allows her to develop that line of thinking and empower her to act on, what you would do in these certain scenarios. Sorry, you guys. I think I don't know why my computer is lagging. There we go. Okay. It's very important to expose her to female role models. And it's even more important to realize that, directed to moms, what I'm about to say is, you are her very first role model, right? So you are the one that she is going to refer to through almost everything in her life. You are the first example of a woman. So our perceptions of the world and possibilities are, very influenced by the people around us. So we usually create our reality based on, like I said, what we see and what we experience. That's why it's important to expose her to girls and women that are, strong, the set of values that we want her to have, which is, strength and confidence, like we mentioned before. We say that word a lot, right? Empowerment and just overall support. So by seeing them, she too will absorb these qualities, right? Especially at the younger phases where, the mind is still growing. Like, we know that the mind does not fully develop until 25. So those years that are leading up to 25 are super duper crucial for establishing the set of values that we want to instill in a young woman. So there are young women that are doing work that they're passionate about. Those are women that you want to expose her to. Or maybe just a set of values that you and your family realize that are important. Expose her to female role models that can exemplify those values, right? Some examples can be leadership, patience, kindness, fairness, anything that you want her to, you and your family would love for her to implement it in a positive way. And also let her think of some values. So establish some values together once she is of age. Try to establish those set of values that you can both agree on and talk about what is important in life, right? And the most helpful thing is to, have a sit down conversation with her and let her know that, she is capable of embodying the set of values that you guys talk about. And instilling resiliency. I'm sorry, I'm kind of tongue-tied today. Instilling resiliency is very helpful because it shows that, there are things that may or may not go our way, but how do we bounce back from them? Praising efforts. Oops. Sorry. So praising efforts and not performance is it's very interesting because, we want to be quick to say, good job, I'm so proud of you, you did this, you did that, you reached your goal, or you got first place, or we're so quick to praise performance. But what happens when we don't necessarily reach what we wanted to? And going back to resiliency, when things don't necessarily go our way, how do we still encourage the overall situation, right? So most of us develop confidence by experiencing, gaining a new skill that we, couldn't do before, or doing something for the first time, right? But it's important to encourage and praise just simply going out of your comfort zone. And maybe you didn't reach exactly what you wanted to reach, but just taking that first step, that was awesome. That was amazing. That was really, brave of you to do that, right? So sometimes maybe she may be struggling with a new skill, still encourage, still praise, still give that positive reinforcement, right? And to raise a confident and empowered young woman, it's important to teach her to be fearless. So, there are certain lines that we may not cross or we're scared to cross, but if she's approaching that line, praise her. I believe in you. I think that you can do it. I think that you're amazing. I think that you're capable. I think that you'll do a wonderful job, right? Putting that faith in her and teaching her to grow and learn from things, and having her try new things instills, like we mentioned before, resiliency and bravery and confidence, right? So let her know that you're proud of her. Encourage her to keep trying. Maybe things didn't go well this first time, but I think you can try it again. I think it will be a wonderful, maybe a wonderful step to reassess the situation and approach it in another way. Motivate her to try new things and instill that she's capable and worthy. And most importantly, this is to moms, because we were talking about Women's Month. Moms, praise yourselves first. So give yourselves grace. Learning to love yourself is important. Like we mentioned, you're your daughter's first role model, right? You're teaching her how to kind of grow. And in doing that, I've seen a video where a little girl, I think it was her babysitter, her caretaker. We probably seen this video, some of us. She was brushing her hair. The little girl's like, my hair is so ugly. I look so ugly. I don't like my hair. And she must be like 3 or 4. And the babysitter immediately starts crying. She's like, no, you're beautiful. You're amazing. Your hair is so great. You're gorgeous. She's trying to instill that. And it kind of made me think, like, I wonder where this little girl heard this. That her hair is ugly, that she's not pretty, that she's not like the other kids in maybe her preschool or kindergarten, right? With that being said, it's super important to try to filter out what is said about yourself around your daughter, because, like we mentioned before, you're the first role model. If you're caught saying, I don't look good in this shirt, I look too fat, I don't look like so-and-so, or I'm not beautiful, or whatever those words may be, your daughter is going to absorb that. Your young girl is going to absorb that. Your younger sister is going to absorb that, right? Coupled with what the media tells us already. So give yourself grace. Practice those affirmations together. Practice your own self-care. You can't take care of anyone unless you take care of yourself first. And try to tend to your own mental health. I think those are really important components in having a young woman or a little girl mirror you. It's easier said than done, but these steps are very important in doing that. I would love for us to watch this video. It was, it's by Mercedes-Benz, but it was for the last year's International Women's Day. And I want to kind of have a discussion about it as well.
Okay, next one. Sit down. Look to camera.
This is what it looks like to be exceptional, to stand out from the crowd, to make history. But what if women didn't have to be exceptional? What if they didn't have to be the first, the best, or the only woman? What if being a female engineer wasn't remarkable? What if women and men could compete as equals? I don't want to make history. I don't want to be the only woman. I want to be one of many.
All right, so what did we think about that? You guys can go ahead and take your mics off of mute and let's have a discussion. What do you guys think?
I think like a lot of the time when you hear in the news or you see in media and stuff, it's like, oh, she's the only woman who's ever completed this thing or whatever it was, or the only woman who's done this. And from, you know, the video's point of view, it's like we just want to be treated like everybody else instead of being isolated as one specific group or one specific gender. That's kind of how I saw it.
Yeah, and I saw the same thing. Like, I want to be a part of a greater thing than I am, right? So I don't want to be the only girl. I want to be one of many women, right? So you're right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I heard Julia, and then we'll go to Armando.
Okay. Yeah, I think Pat really hit the nail on the head. I think that it would be nice to just be like, obviously the recognition is nice, but it would be nice to just be like, yeah, she's an aerospace engineer. That's that. And like, it being a woman is not remarkable in that sense, because saying that it's remarkable that she's a woman in aerospace engineer makes it seem like no one else can do it, and she's just, oh my god, she's just so smart, like, you know, something like that, using that as an example.
Right.
And that kind of just goes into being one of many. I think that oftentimes, like, as women, there are certain things that we don't go in, like, you know, if we're talking career wise, you know, there's other things as well, but there are certain things we don't go into because you're just like, well, like, I'm not gonna, like, I'm a girl, like, I can't do, you know what I mean? It's like instilled in you, you know what I mean? And not that we can't do it. Like, I think we all secretly know that we can. It's just like, kind of like, well, we don't, you know, like, it's sort of like that.
There's still those barriers that lie, right? So within society, you know, some things are still very much, I guess you could say stigmatized or very much like stereotyped, you know, that, yeah, that's not really an area that women really go into. So you're right. Armando, I know you said something, and then I'll go to Shayla.
I really like the fact that, like, you know, sometimes people are like, oh, I want to be the first of this. I want to be the first one to make this. Like, I want to make history. Like, I like that they weren't focusing on that. They were focusing, like, I just want to contribute to society, period. Like, I don't care about being the leading woman in this. Like, it shouldn't have to matter that because of my gender. I like how that was, like, the message, trying to get it across to all young girls. It's basically kind of like just saying that it shouldn't matter what's my gender. It shouldn't matter what is anything. Like, I should be able to just contribute to the society.
True. It doesn't matter that I'm the first woman or the only woman. Let's get it to a point there where there are women that cross that line, and we're all just one. We're all at a level playing field. I saw Shayla had her hand raised. Did you want to say something?
Hi. Thank you for the video. It's a great video, and just to even further the discussion, what I think about is women, diverse women then in these fields, and how it creates such exhaustion, because not only are they a woman, but looking at how their different intersectionalities of, you know, who they are come into play too. So just keeping in mind of creating a very inclusive workspace, and knowing that now if you have a woman and she's, you know, a diverse woman in that situation, now she is maybe the only Black woman in the company, or the only Hispanic woman, or the only Asian woman. And just thinking about how they always have to show up, or there's this perception that they have to show up as, you know, always on top of everything, because people are always almost looking to them to fail. So I think it's a good video, and I like the conversations that it can start.
Thank you. Absolutely. That's a great way to think of that. The intersectionalities, like the different roles that we carry too. Even forget about gender, but just as, you know, human beings, you know, it could be, you know, the first young, et cetera, whatever woman, you know, we carry different titles. So that's a great way to think. Whitney says, it's an interesting change in perspective of you don't always have to go above and beyond to achieve recognition, an optimistic view of the norm rather than an anomaly. Yes, I do agree. I do definitely agree. All right, so we are coming to the end of the presentation, and I just really want to give a special thank you. Like I said, this is like my favorite month of the year, one of my favorite months. So I just want to give a special thank you to the women in my life who see something in me that I probably never saw in myself. You are appreciated dearly, and I appreciate everyone that I work with, women or not women, however you identify, woman, man, any, you know, whatever you're, however you identify. I do appreciate everyone in this month, and I do hope that you enjoyed this webinar. It was a lovely discussion. Does anyone have any final thoughts? Does anyone have anything for the greater good of the group? That's what I always say.